Welcome back to another series. This time it's Ancient Terrible Things. This is a press your luck dice slash card game. And again, I'm not going to go through a whole lot of details on rules right now. When we start playing the game, I'll show you how it works. Look a little bit at the components. We'll look at the... I'm going to be doing a two-player game. So this is a 2 to 4 player game. And in the two-player game... obviously we're just using 2 of the 4 characters, and I'll just show you a little bit here. This card, I'm going to be using the Scenario 1. There's Scenario 1 on one side, Scenario 2. Scenario 1 is supposed to be a little bit easier. Basically you're going to be rolling dice, sort of like Yahtzee. You're going to get 3 rolls of the dice, and that's it. And you're trying to match, pairs. You're trying to get 3 of a kind, and we'll give you different abilities. And I'll show you a character card and what those tokens are supposed to mean. So briefly, let's just look at one of the characters. I won't be playing with the heiress, but this is the character card. They're all very much the same. They start off with a slightly different ability. The heiress starts off with 1 extra dollar or treasure token. The other characters we'll get into when I look at them, but we'll just look at the turn sequence, and this will make sense as we play the game. The first thing is the Riverboat, and the Riverboat is located right down here. So that's the Riverboat phase, and it's basically refresh all of the cards that you've used, and you refresh the cards if the locations are empty, and these are the different locations. There's 6 around the board, and basically you're flipping these cards into these locations. They go from green cards to orange cards to red cards, increasing in difficulty as to what you need to achieve to defeat the card, and it is worth so many victory points, or ancient terrible thing knowledge in the upper right, the purple number. And you'll be collecting these cards as you play the game and as you complete sort of these quests. So again, looking at the turn sequence, explore, you will move your adventurer to one of the locations and try to do what you can. Then there's the Desperation Phase, which is spending courage tokens to try and immediately defeat one of the cards without having to roll any dice. Then you have the encounter, which is rolling the dice. Then you have a terrible thing. If the encounter remains, which means you haven't defeated it, you discard it, and you take a terrible thing token. And the terrible thing tokens are on the upper right track here. In a 2-player game, you're only using 7. The ones with no tentacle on them are worth 0 negative points at the end of the game. So we have some that have like 1 tentacle on it. That's worth 1 negative point. And there's others worth 3. Now there are 16, I believe, of these tokens. You randomly grab 7 of them for the 2-player game, and they have 0, 1, 2, or 3 tentacles on them. Okay, and so to look a little more at the sheet, the bottom of every character sheet, there's a terrible thing counter. You put your terrible thing tokens here. They count negatively at the end of the game. You put your courage tokens here, feat tokens here, focus tokens here, treasure tokens. And what do these do? The courage tokens are used to immediately defeat some of the cards. Feat tokens are used to play cards, and we'll look at some cards in a moment. The focus tokens are used to reroll a single dice, and the treasure tokens are used to buy swag. So that's a quick look at the character card. And to look at the last of the turn sequence, the last thing, once you're finished with your cards, rolling the dice, you go back to the trading post. The trading post is right here, and that's where you'll buy a swag if you have the treasure to pay for it. And then the very last is the refresh phase after all of the characters are sitting in the trading post. Okay, that is a really quick overview. Of course, it hasn't shown you anything on how to play the game. So you initially seed the board by flipping cards off this deck. In a 2-player game, there is only going to be 18 cards. So there's going to be 8 orange cards, 8 red cards, which are the hardest, and the 6 green cards, 6, 6, and 6, and there's 6 green cards out on the board. When you put a card out on the board, you can see on this card there's a green symbol here. When it goes out on the board, a green token goes here. So when you land on that spot, you will immediately collect the token, and then you can do one of the special functions. There are 6 special functions. On this spot, you will grab the map token. which is right here. It's worth 1 point at the end of the game. Lots to keep in track here. Here you can either get a courage token or a treasure token. Here you can immediately use the Desperation Phase to spend courage tokens to get any card on the board that you want. Here is a swap. You take 1 token from somebody and you give them 1 token. And you cannot use the terrible thing tokens. Once you get those, they're locked down unless you get rid of them with special abilities. And this one here is dump any number of feat cards in your hand and collect that many feat cards. And this one is just you get a reroll die or a feat die. Okay, that's very quickly. You'll see how all this happens as we play the game. So right now, let's take a look at the 2 characters we'll be playing the game with. And one other quick thing, right here at the bottom, again, I have the Scenario 1 set up. There are 4 achievements that can be unlocked in the game. If you collect 3 cards that have the green symbol on them, you'll get Deep Focus. 3 cards with the treasure symbol, you get Priceless Treasure. 3 cards with the feet or the blue symbol on them, you're going to get Furious Feats. 3 with the purple gives you Heroic Courage. You can steal these from the other player. If you end up having more symbols on your cards or swag than your opponent, then you can take that away, and it's worth 4 points at the end of the game. All right, let's look at individual characters, and we'll look at the dice. And then I think the next time we'll just start playing the turns and seeing how it goes. Okay, so the first character that I'm going to be using in the 2-player game playthrough is the Captain. And the Captain starts with the map card you can see right here. At the beginning of the game, everyone starts basically with 1 courage token, 1 feat token, 1 focus token, 1 treasure token, and 3, these are feat cards. There's a whole stack of these to be used. And his feat cards are, the first one, it costs 0 feat tokens to play. So in the upper left corner, you'll see a number here. That's how many of these feat tokens you must pay to play the card. So the first one is Steady Hand. There's none. And it basically means your dice pool includes a feat die in place of a focus die. So I guess I might as well talk about the dice right now. Basically, the game comes with 5. These are just a regular dice. These are the ones you're going to be rolling to try to achieve unlock the cards. You have yellow dice, which are called luck dice. They get to be re-rolled without having to spend a focus token. You have feat dice, which instead of re-rolling them, you actually spend a feat token to just increase the value of the feat dice by 1. And you have panic dice, which are red, and they come into play through certain card effects and certain swag. So that's just, and we'll get into all these rules as we play the game. So anyway, next we have Short Fuse. It costs 1 feat token to play it. And it says set any die to a 1 or 2. And Break the Fever, it costs 3 feat tokens to play, and it just says gain 3 focus tokens. So you can play these cards on your turn. You can only play cards on your turn, not on someone else's turn. Okay, and that is the Captain. And that, I think, explains a little bit about the dice. Let's go over to the next character and have a look at her. It's the Journalist. Okay, so here we have the Journalist. And what's nice about these cards is they give you the entire turn sequence, and they give you the location action descriptions of what they do when you land on them. So it's very convenient right on the player cards. So the Journalist starts with, and she gets 1 extra courage token. So she's going to have 2 here to start the game. 1 feat, 1 focus, 1 treasure. And her feat cards, randomly drawn, you start with 3 cards at the beginning of the game. I don't know if I mentioned that. Is Last Gasp. It costs 3 feat tokens to play. It says discard up to 2 Terrible Thing tokens from your stash. So if you end up getting some high value Terrible Thing tokens to give you negative points at the end of the game, you can play this card to get rid of 2 of them. And this costs 2 feats. It's Smooth Talker. Choose any swag card owned by your opponent, and you may take that swag card by paying the player possessing the card the treasure in tokens. So if someone had a card worth, say, 1 treasure, she can play this card for paying 2 feats and buy the treasure from somebody else. But she has to pay that money to the card holder. In a 2-player game, obviously be the other player. And Brave Face. Costs 2 feat to play, and it's gained 2 courage tokens. So that is our second character. And let me, I guess, go back to the main board, talk about a couple other things, that maybe the swag that's sitting out right now. And then next episode, we'll be getting right into the turns. So we'll go back to the board, look at the swag, and I think that'll be it. Okay, so this will just end off the setup and introduction video. And we'll just look lastly here at the swag cards. There's a whole stack here of swag cards, and they will rotate as the game goes. If one is purchased, it will be replaced after the person's trading post phase. If nothing is purchased, the last card in the trading post goes to the bottom of the deck. These two would slide over and a new card comes out. So the swag keeps refreshing as the game goes along. So let's take a look at the specific ones. The first one costs 5 treasure, 5 gold, I guess, and it's called Skeleton Key. And it says you may steal an achievement card from an opponent if you have equal claim to the condition. Now remember, these cards say if someone, the first person to get 3 green cards with the symbol, or 3 of this symbol on their cards, gets to get this achievement card. Well, if you bought that Skeleton Key, if the next person gets 3, they can steal this achievement from the person that has it. Otherwise, you'd need 4, 1 more. The next up in the swag is the compass. It costs 3, and it says when you move to a location, you can use the location special ability at an adjacent location. So basically, if you were up here and you landed on this space and you're explorer, you can use this special ability or this special ability since they're adjacent, or you can use the one that's there as well. The last swag is called Transport. It costs 3. During an encounter, exhaust this card and sacrifice one of your remaining rerolls to swap any 2 encounters on the board. So if you land here and you roll dice and you ended up getting what you exactly need here, instead of having one of your rerolls, you can just flip the cards around if you want. So the swag does all kinds of different things in the game. Those are the 3 we're starting with, randomly drawn out. And I guess how the mechanics of the game work briefly is you get 3 rolls of the dice, and they can be combinations of the green dice, maybe some luck dice, depending on swag, depending on feat cards that you play. But you're only ever allowed 2 rerolls. So you're going to roll the dice once, and then you're allowed to roll them a second time. You're allowed to roll them a third time. And I'll get into the exact mechanics of how that works. But outside of those rerolls, you can use feat cards. So if a feat card says, reroll 2 dice, and you pay a feat card and it says reroll 2 dice, that does not count as part of your 3 rolls. So that, a little bit rules-wise, has to be taken into account. First time I played it with friends, we just said 3 rerolls, period. It didn't matter what you did, but when you play swag cards that tell you to reroll dice, and you play feat cards that tell you to reroll dice, those do not count as part of your total 3 rolls. All right, I think that's enough of an introduction for now. There's lots going on in the game. We'll get right into it next episode, right into the turns. The captain will start because he has the map. Basically, that's another thing. The person that is holding the map token is the first player when everyone's sitting here at the Riverboat phase. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Join me next time when we get into turns on Ancient Terrible Things. Thanks for watching.